May 28, 1973. Mount Gambier, Southern Australia. A group of 9 divers are preparing to cave dive an underwater cave system named the Shaft. Little did they know that this seemingly routine dive would turn into a nightmare that would capture the attention of the world. As they ventured deeper into the underwater labyrinth, disaster struck, and they found themselves trapped in a harrowing situation with no easy way out. This is the story of Mount Gambier diving incident. The entrance to the sinkhole known as the Shaft is a 3 feet wide sinkhole opening leading to a large underwater cavern known for its clear water and interesting internal structure. It was discovered in 1938 in a field known as Thompson's Paddock, on a farm near Allendale East, a few kilometers south of Mount Gambier, when one of the horses stumbled over a small hole about 1 foot across, which was found to be an entrance to a large sinkhole. The hole was later opened up to about 3 feet diameter for exploration access. In the mid-1960s, a local diver climbed down the rain-enlarged 2.6-foot opening into the cave's 56 feet wide lake chamber and made the first descent to a depth of about 69 feet. The main chamber is about 460 feet long and 260 feet wide. Water level is about 23 feet below ground level, and the hole is considerably wider at this point. A rock pile directly under the surface opening rises to a minimum depth of about 118 feet. A tunnel extends to the northwest to a depth of about 260 feet, and another to the east reaches a maximum depth of 407 feet. Because of the size of the hole and the height of the drop, divers and equipment are lowered into the chamber separately using a hoist system. The name is claimed to be derived from the bright shaft of sunlight which penetrates through the entrance to the depths on a sunny day. On May 26, 1973, a group of 9 divers arrived in Mount Gambier, South Australia, with the intention of cave diving at the Shaft, which was well known among divers for its clear water and fascinating internal structure. John H. Bockerman, Peter S. Burr, Christine M. Millott, Glenn Millott, Stephen Millott, Larry Reynolds, Gordon G. Roberts, and Robert J. Smith were the 8 divers who planned to enter the cave. Joan Harper, the 9th member of the group, had decided not to dive and would instead stay beside the sinkhole, preparing hot soup and assisting the group in other ways. The day before the accident, the group signed the guest book at B.V. Ashby's farmhouse, and completed a successful dive at the sinkhole, extending a shot line approximately 150 feet into the water and reaching the primary point of interest known as the rock pile, a central pile of limestone rubble about 130 feet directly below the sinkhole entrance. Before they surfaced, they briefly explored the rock pile's perimeter. With their shot line already in place, the group planned to return the next morning and explore the cavern further. On the morning of May 28, the group arrived at the sinkhole after refilling their cylinders at Mount Gambier, and descended quickly to the rock pile. According to the divers' reports, they had no plans to explore beyond the edge, a narrow and downward-sloping continuation of the cave on one side of the main chamber. Far from the sinkhole opening's natural light shaft, the rock pile was widely regarded as the limit for safe recreational diving. The surrounding cavern was dark, unexplored, and covered in loose silt and limestone rubble. It continued downward to depths where the effects of nitrogen narcosis became severe if the breathing gas was not diluted by helium. Even at the depths of the rock pile perimeter, the effects of narcosis would have been substantial, which may have already impacted the diver's judgment. While the initial descent went well, the 8 divers failed to follow several established safety procedures early in the dive. The shot line did not extend all the way to the cavern floor, there were no extra air tanks, and the divers did not have adequate air management strategies. The group had not established specific diving partners, and they had not used any type of safety guideline. Glenn Millott later stated that they did not use safety lines because 8 separate lines in such a small space would have created a dangerous situation for the divers. Robert Smith, who had dived at the sinkhole 8 times before and devised the majority of the dive plan, did not expect the other members of the group to go as deep into the cave as they did. Smith started to experience the symptoms of nitrogen narcosis around the edge of the rock pile. He had a reading on his depth gauge of about 180 feet. Smith, a skilled diver who was aware of the signs of narcosis, signaled to his group that he was returning to the top of the rock pile. The group signaled that they were going to continue exploring. Smith stayed by the pile of rocks and circled it for about 8 minutes in an attempt to find animal bones. Then he noticed Glenn Milot's torch coming back from where the others had gone. After keeping an eye on his air and realizing he was running out of time, Glenn Milot tried to remind Christine Milot that her time was also running out, but she was gone before he could. When Smith and Glenn Milot reunited and came to the surface together, Larry Reynolds had already finished his dive. Peter Burr came to the surface with nearly no air left in his tank 30 seconds later. Glenn Milot quickly put on a spare tank and headed back out onto the water, knowing the others would be suffering from similarly low air supplies. He went down to where the cliff started to drop off, which was 225 feet. He discovered Stephen Milot's torch and camera at the edge. Large volumes of silt had been disturbed, and there was almost no visibility. All Glenn Milot could do was decompress and come back to the surface. An ambulance had reached the sinkhole by the time he surfaced. When Peter Burr went back to look around the cavern, he saw no one. The group realized by then that they were searching for bodies rather than survivors. When the survivors turned to head back to the surface at the end of the scheduled dive, they witnessed Gordon Roberts and Christine Milot making a hasty ascent back to the rock pile. But instead of swimming up the same slope they had descended, they swam straight up, maybe out of concern that their air would run out soon. The two divers entered a ceiling dome that had no way out by swimming straight upward. Before Roberts signaled back to them that they were lost, Reynolds claimed to have seen their torches, frantically looking for an exit. Reynolds claimed that Gordon Roberts and Christine Milot appeared frightened. The two were last seen at this location. One diver who survived claims to have seen another member of their group swimming deeper into the cave at about the same time and further down. This was John Bockerman, who might not have realized he was swimming to death, because he was probably suffering from severe nitrogen narcosis. Not too long before the divers were emerged, Stephen Milot might also have been spotted beneath the cave ceiling. On May 29, 1973, the police underwater recovery squad began a 200-foot dive into a cave following an accident. The search was brief and unsuccessful, as the team was underprepared for such conditions. A second attempt was unsuccessful on May 30th, and the search was postponed due to the need for naval expertise on the dive, which was expected to take several months to train. Landowners were increasingly uncomfortable with the 3 bodies stuck on their property, leading to an amateur diving team from Melbourne and the police diving team finalizing their recovery preparations. On March 9, 1974, RG Trainer and a team of divers entered the shaft equipped with improved diving gear. They found bodies of Christine Milot and Gordon Roberts at a depth of 185 feet. Trainer also located the body of John Bockerman beneath a rock ledge, 20 feet below. Trainer attempted to move the bodies into a more easily recoverable position, but abandoned the effort due to lack of air. The next day, the divers attempted to return and recover the bodies, but failed. Several more dives were attempted, but the bodies could not be relocated. On the third day of diving, the bodies of Christine Milot and Gordon Roberts were recovered from a depth of 195 feet on March 11, 1974. Recovery of Bockerman's body was aborted due to nitrogen narcosis. The divers were sent home for a month to recover from extended efforts and further train for the final body recovery, which was the most challenging due to its extreme depth and position. The final dive plan included 1 day of diving to secure the body's location, a rest day for the divers to recover from potential narcotic effects, and a 3rd day to recover the body. Finally, John H. Bockerman's body was recovered from the cave on April 9, 1974, 11 months and 11 days after the accident at the depth of 215 feet. So that's all we got about Mount Gambier diving incident, and thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos, hit the subscribe button, and if you have something to say, please leave a comment.